Morning. Morning, people. Nice to see you there this morning. Morning, folks. Really nice to see you all there today. As you can see, I'm back to health. I'm feeling better. We'll get this broadcast underway shortly. Numbers are climbing nicely, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Anyway, due to a change in circumstances, folks, Davy will be broadcasting from the house going forward. Still with the hashtag Indytruck Davy, still be a truck driver, or still with a truck licence anyway, but I'll be broadcasting from home. Alright, where are we? 98. 101. Well done, Audrey. Welcome aboard. Okay, so it's 101 of yous aboard. Well, more now. So let's get this broadcast underway. It's Indytruck Davy out the truck and in his house, in his home, in his office, at his home in Salisbury, where it is overcast, 12 degrees. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. If you want to know what the weather's like where you are, look out your own bloody window. Alright, let's get this broadcast underway. Okay. This is a news review for yesterday, the 25th of the 5th, 2022. Okay. Wednesday started with two main themes in the rags. Partygate, and of course the Sue Gray's impending report, which was released yesterday. And of course comments on claims made by Number 10's employees to the BBC Panorama documentary on Tuesday night. Okay. The other story in the rags, Rishi Sunak to announce a windfall tax on big energy companies to help people with the cost of living crisis. The truth is, of course, it's been announced to move us on from Partygate saga. Alright. Now, costs for energy prices in the UK have rocketed from between £1,200 per year in the year 2020 to 2021, and they have increased by a whopping £1,800, or they will do, in the year 2022. Okay. Now, it's rumoured that Sunak will be given money to help with the energy crisis through this windfall tax, but we'll need to see what he does with it, because let's face it, if he spreads it right across the board, there's not going to be much for those on fixed incomes, but we'll get a wee bit more of that as we go further into the report. Okay, moving on. Wednesday here in Scotland started on the news that the First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, had surpassed her predecessor, Alex Salmond, to become the longest serving First Minister in devolution in Scotland. Alright. She also becomes she's also Scotland's most popular First Minister by a country mile. Alright, so of course, this the fact that she's that popular and she's the longest serving doesn't suit the mainstream media. So the mainstream media, they do what they always do and make shit up. Alright. The mainstream media claimed education's a disaster, NHS is a disaster, BIFAB was a disaster, ferries a disaster. There was scant mention of her successes such as delivery of doubling early learning in Scotland, saving families up to £4,000 a year for childcare costs. No mention of the baby box, the introduction of a more compassionate Scottish benefit system, and the better treatment for the new Scottish benefit system of the disabled. And of course there was a game-changing Scottish child payment, lifting thousands of Scottish children out of poverty, while mitigating the worst excesses of Westminster austerity. Yeah, there's been some rocky times for Miss Sturgeon along the way, but even they are good in comparison to what's went on in Westminster. BIFAB failed, lost us by a few £100 million. Ferries, the ferry saga has cost us an extra £100 million, £130 million actually. But it pales into insignificance when you look at what's going on down that road. Right, London Crossrail. 4 years late, still no finished, and 4 billion over budget. HS2, 2 years behind schedule, and 50 billion over budget and rising, and the track's not going to go as far as it was meant to go. And then, of course, we've got the famous track and trace down that road, 29.7 billion so far, and still counting. The accounts for 21, 22 are no in. And that's expected to rise to 37.7 billion. And the Office for National Statistics said about the track and trace system down that road, it did and achieved nothing, and did nothing to bring the virus under control, alright. And that's not to mention the 10 billion quid which has been set on fire because of dodgy PPE deliveries out of 12 million quid's worth of contracts. So 12 billion quid's worth of contracts for PPE and only 2 billion quid's worth of it was any bloody good. Yet here we have the MSM up as bloody road telling us that Miss Sturgeon's had a disastrous time in office. Wow, absolutely mental. The mainstream media might not want to tell the First Minister's story in office with honesty, but by Christ, she doesn't half outshine anything that's happened down that bloody road in the years that the Tory party have been in power. Alright, now, our time in office has been a triumph compared to the shambles down that road, alright? But our handling of the pandemic, for example, clear, concise information, ensuring that less Scots died overall, and rather than spend and sparf billions of quids up against the wall on crap PPE that couldn't be used, Miss Sturgeon and her Health Minister, Jean Freeman, actually built a brand new supply chain and built up an industry here in Scotland to provide PPE for the people. So no billions sparfed up against the wall, but creating hundreds of jobs in the Borders in Annan and creating a brand new supply line to deliver this stuff right across Scotland. So the MSM slagging off the First Minister's time in office was absolutely deplorable yesterday. But I can assure you, Miss Sturgeon is a winner. 11 elections, the SNP have won now. Right, moving on, Wednesday. Scottish and Southern Energy announced 1.5 billion operating profits for the last year, from 2020 to April 2021. For 2021 to April 2022. That is a 15% rise on the year 2020 to 2021. SSE Chief Executive Arthur Phillips Davis tells the press the money will be reinvested in Scotland's green energy infrastructure going forward. Right, SSE are undertaking a 15 billion infrastructure in green energy production programme in Scotland, and it's expected to produce plenty of green jobs while helping Scotland reach net zero by 2045. It will also help lower energy costs in the long run, apparently. No as long as we get rampant profiteering, it bloody well won't. No as long as we're stuck in the UK marketplace, it bloody well won't. No as long as we're having to pay extortionate amount of money to the national grid to get the bloody stuff into the grid. So, it would appear that Scottish and Southern Energy have made a whopping profit, but they intend to put it back in, but it's no helping the people at the moment. It maybe helped if they took that 1.5 billion and used it to reduce energy costs to their bloody customers, especially those in the lowest income. Right, moving on, Wednesday. And an international story hits the headlines here in the UK. Another mass shooting in the US, this time another school shooting in a primary school in Texas. 19 kids and 2 teachers died. Now, I'm not going to get into much detail on the school and things like that. All I'm going to say is the Americans seem to be a bit thick as fuck. They seem to put the right to bear arms in front of the rights of their children to survive. Wow, absolutely mental. Anyway, until an American politician grows a backbone and takes on the National Rifle Association and the gun lobby, then these bloody things will keep happening in America. What they really need to do is follow on the Australian model, where back in the 70s, I think it was, the Australians banned people for having weapons, the same as it is in the UK, without having a requirement for them for your work. But these mass shootings in America are just going out of hand. I seen a list this morning, there must have been nearly 300 of the bloody things, and that was just educational facilities. That wasn't including night shifts, pubs, clubs, or the rest of it. They're just nutters taking pot shots at people going along the streets. But until the Yanks get their head wrapped from the fact that carrying arms isn't a right, it should be a privilege and only to those who are trained and only to those who need them in the course of their duties, then these things are going to keep happening. Alright, moving on, Wednesday. Back here in Scotland, and the horse trading after the council elections is almost over. So how does the council landscape look? Alright, the SNP took control of 21 councils in Scotland. The Conservatives now run 5, Labour run 4, and Independents run 3. Okay, I think Labour actually is up to 5 now. I think they took West Lothian. Anyway, so that would take the SNP down to 20. Right, the Orkney, Shetland and the Western Isles are run by independent councillors. Highlands is SNP, Moray and Aberdeenshire Tory, Aberdeen City SNP. Labour have Western Bartonshire, Stirlingshire, Edinburgh, East Lothian, and it looks like West Lothian on now. The Tories took control of the 3 Borders councils. The rest are SNP controlled. The horse trading has been extensive, throwing up some interesting combinations. No doubt over the next 5 years some of these administrations will change hands, but that's just the way it goes in councils. We've seen it through the last 5 years where councils have been run by the Tories end up in SNP hands and things like that as administrations collapse. But as I say, the whole idea of the STV voting system, or the single transferable voting system, is to throw up coalitions, and there's been some right interesting ones went on, with SNP teaming up with Greens, Lib Dem, even Labour, in some cases, to take control of councils, and we've had better together coalitions in other places. So it would appear that even council politics are starting to polarise against into the national question. What's interesting is, of course, if we're going to take the polarisation of politics in Scotland and have a look at it on the national question, the national debate, then you have to say we've won it hands down with 20 councils. We've got the majority of MSPs and majority of MPs. I think the Scottish people are speaking quite loudly, actually. Right, for all those that say they're no. Anyway, moving on, Wednesday, mid-morning, and the Sue Gay report is published. And we all get to see what she had to say about the culture of privilege and stuff the plebs at the heart of Bojo's government. The report is damning, to say the bloody least. And we'll get a wee bit more of that as we get further into the report, as we get to the debate on the Sue Gray report after Prime Minister's questions. Anywho, next up, lunchtime rolls around and we're on to Prime Minister's questions. First up is the red cheek of the establishment order's arse, Sir Comrade Starmer. Sir Comrade Starmer went on the cost of living crisis and the Tory U-turn on a windfall tax. And big energy companies, right? Starmer says that the Tories had now come round to Labour's idea of a windfall tax, right? Bojo denied it was Labour's idea. Starmer then asked what Bojo was going to do to help those on the lowest fixed incomes, right? Bojo listed all the things they are doing to help those in work, and those in the lowest incomes, fixed incomes, didn't get a mention. Right, so Starmer tried again, and Bojo went on full bombastic mode. You know Bojo, right? You know, the whole array of his so-called achievements were rolled out. Alright, fastest vaccine rollout, fastest growing economy in the G7, lowest unemployment levels since 76, you name it. He rolled all this piss out, but of course none of it was bloody well true. And as we know, the Governor of the Bank of England has said we've got a massive contraction on, so it was pure comedy. Next up was Ian Blackford, the SNP, and he went on the Sue Gray report. He demanded that Bojo resign. Bojo said you'll get a chance to question him on on the Sue Gray report and the debate after Prime Minister's question. Mr Blackford says it's all a joke to Bojo, and that the clown was partying while the rest of us were having to deal with seeing our family and while our relatives were dying. Alright, Bojo tells Blackford, read the Sue Gray report, and then ask him questions when it came to the debate on the Sue Gray report. Now, I did a wee video on the Sue Gray report yesterday and the debate on it, but let's move on. On Wednesday afternoon, and Bojo gives a statement to the Commons on the Sue Gray report. Bojo says the booze-ups were all part of keeping morale up among the civil servants. Working in number 10, and he said they were working flat out, so it was alright for him to have a bevy. The Bojo thought he was just keeping morale up alright, so he claims. Bojo then went on to talk about him only receiving one fine, and he claims the Met found he'd only attended one party, and the other parties were part of his duties to say as an employer and as the Prime Minister, and that was to say goodbye to colleagues who were leaving. So, you know, they were classed as work events according to Bojo, right? Bojo then tells the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers that he only attended the parties briefly, and that because number 10 is a massive workplace, he had no idea the parties had raged on all night. Bojo then claims that he was outraged to find out that his employees were pissing it up all night, getting bevied, punching fuck out each other in the garden, and vomiting all over the carpet. According to Sue Gray, there was red wine up the walls and everything. Anyway, Bojo claims he didn't have a Scooby because of the size of number 10. He explains it's our 5 flares if you don't count the flats, and it's a couple of, what was he saying, about 5,000 square feet or something mad like that, per floor. Anyway, Bojo's giving it, I didn't know, big boy did it and ran away. Unfortunately for Bojo, at the end of the bloody report, Sue Gray makes it quite clear it was a failure of management from the civil service and from the top of the political class in number 10. It was hilarious stuff. Absolutely hilarious. Anyway, after Bojo commends his statement to the House, first up is Comrade Starmer. Right? Anyway, Starmer romanticises the front door at number 10, saying that famous black door with the number 10 on it was the symbol of democracy right across the world. Never heard so much pish in all your life, but hey, oh, it was funny. Anyway, Starmer then goes on to talk about integrity and honesty and leadership and so on and so forth. Right, and then he's before Bojo can say anything, Starmer says, and by the way, although I've done nothing wrong, if I'm fined, I will step down. So that's Starmer trying to show his integrity and honesty and transparency and all these things he romanticised about the office at number 10. What a bollocks, of course, we all know the office at number 10 is where all the backstabbing and all the swindling goes on, you know, but that's beside the point. Doesn't matter what government's in. Oh, anyway, there's a Davy says here, right, listen, anybody wants to know anything about Starmer's integrity and honesty wants to read Len McCluskey's book, because it would appear that Starmer has been backstabbing and jumping on people all the way up the greasy pole. And if you want any evidence like that, you just have to look at the way he stuck the knife between Jeremy Corbyn's shoulders to oust him to become the leader of the Labour Party. So Starmer's got as much integrity as Bojo. In fact, he's just the red Tory Bojo sitting in the wings waiting to do the establishment's arse's work for them. Absolutely hilarious stuff. So Starmer spanks Bojo, or so he thinks. Bojo's sitting there with his head doing, trying to look contrite, you know, getting up and telling people at the ballot vote, the dispatch box, that he's been humbled and he's learnt from his mistakes, and that according to Sue Gray they've fixed it so it should all be forgiven. Starmer gets a bum's rush for Bojo, and The Starmer also demands that Bojo resigns. Bojo comes back to the dispatch box and says, no, it's time to move on. Alright, next up was Ian Blackford, and he quoted for the Sue Gray's report, especially the bit about how housekeepers and security guards were being treated in number 10. And he says that Bojo should do the decent thing and resign. But as we know, Bojo's not going to do that. I can block calls when I'm broadcast. I can barely operate my bloody phone. Anyway, so Bojo just gets up and says to Blackford exactly what he said to Starmer. You know, I can, in fact, all the way through the debate, he got up when he was being asked questions saying, I can just refer you back to the last answer. What was interesting about what went on yesterday in the debate with the Sue Gray report, and I mean really interesting what went on with the debate with the Sue Gray report, was that Starmer and Blackford and all the opposition parties were all standing demanding that Bojo resign. Only 4 Tories got up and demanded that Bojo resigned. Okay, others got up to support Bojo. As I say, the interesting thing watching it was that it was amazing how quickly the Tories disappeared off the benches when the debate started. Now, Davy's expecting them all to bugger off to the 1922 committee and put in letters of no confidence in Bojo. But here's the kicker, kids. Even if they did manage to get 59 votes of no confidence and go forward with a vote of no confidence in Bojo, there's 378 of them or something like that. Only 59 letters of no confidence. Bojo would win that vote of no confidence, and it would mean that his leadership couldn't be challenged for another 12 months. The Tories are no daft. There'll be a lot of them wanting shot him, but they'll be sitting back watching the polls. And because Bojo is an election winner, we know that, as history tells you he's an election winner, the idiots doing that road seem to like the buffoon. They seem to be able to forgive the fact that he's a lying, cheating, dirty git, just because he's a comical character. Anyway, Bojo would win that vote of no confidence, which means his leadership wouldn't be able to be challenged for 12 months. We've seen that with Theresa May and all when she won her vote of no confidence before they get rid of her a year later. Alright, so the vote of no confidence wouldn't actually be that big a danger to Bojo. In fact, it would probably suit him to get it out the bloody road. So we'll see where that goes. But as I say, the Tories are no daft. They'll sit and watch the polls. Eventually, the night of the long knives, as they call it in the Tory party, will come for Bojo. So it will. Anyway, but as I say, Starmer's just a red Bojo sitting in the wings waiting to take care and continue the establishment's 2 cheeks of the same arse policy going forward. Nothing would change under Labour. Starmer's that far to the right that you couldn't get a fag paper between his cheek of the arse and the blue cheek of the arse. Simple as that. Right, moving on. Wednesday. The Sue Gray debate leads to Douglas Ross having another bloody car crash of an interview. Douglas Ross appears in front of the press to tell the press, wait you get this one, to tell the press that Bojo should resign, but only after the Ukraine war's over. Now, the Ukraine war could drag on for years. What's interesting about the Ukraine war is, Bojo's got a big part in instigating it. The West have a big part in instigating it by telling the Ukraine they were going to get to join NATO, when there was absolutely no chance the Ukraine were going to get to join NATO. Anyway, even the press pack were ripping the piss out of Dross for that one. Anna Sarwar even get in and ripping the piss out of him. And we know how much poverty pie Sarwar is. He's a useless git. But Dross is making him look good. Hey, the First Minister, well, she was asked and she just had a laugh. You know, what can you say? But Dross, I think Dross will be finding his jackets on a sugary peg a day with the Scottish Tories. So we could see Dross getting replaced very, very shortly as the branch office manager here in Scotland, alright. Right, moving on. Wednesday evening rolls round, and the Tory right-wing media moves on to speculation on Sunak's windfall tax and what he'll do with the money. As expected, rather than target those in the most need, he'll share it around everyone, even those who don't need it. Alright. Now, it's been speculated that the £200 loan that we were all going to get in October is to be scrapped, and we're going to be given £400 off for the electricity bill. Okay. And there may be a little quid, a pound or two left out to give councils to alleviate council tax a wee bit more and give people more a rebate on their council tax. But as I've just explained in an earlier segment in this show, energy prices in 2022 are going to rise by £1,600 this year. Alright. So £400 off your electricity bill and a couple of £100 off your council tax might help those of us in work. But those on fixed incomes, the pensioners and the unemployed, it's not going to help them a jot. 550 for 1,600 and throw in the cost of living, the cost of food inflation. They're absolutely nothing that 550 quid's going to do for these people. It's fish in the wind. 550 quid off my bill might make it a wee bit more affordable. Not a bloody lot when you throw in the food price inflation and a fuel inflation for cars. But, as I say, this isn't going to help in the slightest, spreading it around people who don't need it. It has to be targeted at those on fixed incomes and those on low incomes. Those of us in middle incomes, well, we just need to suck it up, buttercup for a couple of years. We'll manage. It'll be one less weekend away, it'll be one less holiday, it'll be one less night at a pub. That sort of thing. But those in the lowest incomes, they really need it. Right, and there's a Davy, as I say, that's the Davy says. Energy costs up by 1,600 quid, 500 quid to alleviate it. Might help us guys who are in employment. Certainly won't help those in fixed incomes, because they've got no chance, absolutely no chance of covering that. None. Right, moving on. Wednesday, and in other news. Alright, CBI says NI protocol good for gives Northern Ireland a competitive edge. Davy says we know that. But that's why the Tories don't like it. The Tories don't like it because the option for the UK should have been staying in the customs union and the single market, and the damage would have been minimum for leaving the EU. The NI situation proves that to be true, so the NI protocols have got to be destroyed and NI is going to be dragged down to the same level as the rest is. If you're in the UK union, it's all poor together. No better together, but all poor together, alright. And of course, the other thing that happened in Northern Ireland yesterday was that the Northern Ireland Secretary, Brandon Lewis, he went to Hillsborough Castle to meet a US delegation who are out here trying to ensure that the Good Friday Agreement is kept unbroken. They've been to Brussels, they've been to Ireland, now they're in Northern Ireland talking to Brandon Lewis, and basically what they're telling Brandon Lewis is you've no chance of a trade deal if you fake about with this. Brandon Lewis, much to the unionist despair, tells them that they don't intend to scrap the protocols, they only want to alter a couple of bits. And by the way, the couple of bits they want to alter has got nothing to do with the flow of goods in and out of Northern Ireland to Great Britain and Great Britain to Northern Ireland. But I'll let you use your search engine and look that up yourselves, alright? And in other news, Cabinet Secretary for Wales wants a bigger number of Assembly members in the Welsh Senate. But Simon Hart says the Welsh people need to have a vote on it, in other words, a referendum, and increasing the amount of representatives in the Senate. Alright. And finally for yesterday, it would appear that shooting galleries are back on the cards in Scotland in the fight against drug deaths. It would appear that the idea that UK government can stop shooting galleries is wrong. The interpretation of the Drugs Act he is apparently rang, and it'll be alright for Scotland to go ahead and start shooting galleries without Westminster's permission, alright? So, in summary, it's all still Pete Tong down that road, not it's all still Pete Tong down that road, and it's not looking like it's going to get any better anytime soon. Sunak's about to make an announcement at 12 o'clock today to distract us all from the fact that they were all in the piss while our relatives were dying, while we couldn't see our newborn grandchildren, nieces, nephews, or brothers, sisters, mother, fathers. While we were on lockdown, they were all pissing up against the wall. The Sue Gray report is quite damning, but hey, what she actually did was fix it for them. Don't ever forget the year ago, whenever this inquiry started, Davy told you all what Sue Gray does. She is a Tory fixer in the civil service. A senior politician in the Tory party gets himself in the shit, then Sue Gray's the one they get to sort it out and to make it come out of the pile of shit smelling of roses. And that's exactly what she did. She outlined the culture and what was wrong at number 10, and then tell us all they'd fixed it, giving Bojo the chance to tell us all to move on. Talking of which, let's move on to this morning and what the rags have to say, and then Davy will need to learn how to splice these two bits of video together. Alright, so let's look at what Scotland's papers have to say this morning. Damning Sue Gray report details number 10 lockdown parties. Alright, the eye has failure of leadership. That's what Sue Gray's report said about Bojo and his administration. The Scotsman has, while the country was in lockdown, Downing Street staff partied, fought and vomited, Sue Gray report reveals. One even boasted they had got away with it, but still Boris Johnson likely to survive. Damning is the main headline in The Scotsman. The Herald has culture of contempt, the Sue Gray report again. And the other headline in the Herald is SSE warns Sunak not to put 15 billion investment at risk with windfall tax. We've just talked about SSE going to invest 15 billion in Scottish renewables. The Metro has red wine on number 10 walls, vomiting, fighting, but we got away with it. Brazen Downing Street staff knew they were all breaking the rules. PM says he's sorry, but then denies he lied to Parliament. Alright, the Daily Rancid has Partygate, the official report. Tory party enough to make you sick. Well, we were making sacrifices, this lot were drinking until they threw up, fighting and laughing at the rest of us. The National has punch-ups, puke-ups and piss-ups. Sue Gray's full report published revealing damning evidence of party culture at Downing Street amid lockdown. Thanks to the union, Scotland can't get rid of this shambolic PM. And on the other side it says inside analysis from the wee ginger Doug and Leslie Riddoch. I would get that paper a day because Paul's normally hilarious as it is. I want to read Paul's analysis of the Sue Gray report. It's going to make mine look daft. Because he's got a right comic turn of mind as Paul. Right, the Scottish Daily Mail has humbled Boris. I'm sorry for parties at number 10. PM Partygate apology, but he defies calls to quit and vows to get on with the job. The Express sticking up for Bojo. What do we expect? Sorry, was that? No, that was a fail. Sorry, do beg your pardon, that was a Daily Mail. The Scottish Daily Express has Boris has lost battle, but must stay until war is won. Douglas Ross's car crash interview yesterday. Brilliant. What's the Telegraph got? The Daily Tories got Sunak to extend energy bill relief. And Johnson denies cover-up over Carrie's ABBA party at Downing Street. We wonder why that wasn't investigated. The Times has Gray report vindicates me over number 10 party claims Johnson. And energy bill handout to ease big squeeze. Oh, pish, of course, it's just a diversion. What will happen is most of the 10 billion will disappear into Tory coffers. Let's see what the Star's got to end the roundup for the day, alright. The Star has, how am I still here? Bozo must wake up and wonder why he's getting away with being PM. We all do. Number 10 staff party until 4 AM before Prince Philip's funeral. Officials got tanked up, had a fight and were sick in office. Security guards and cleaners mocked for making complaints. There you go. That's a roundup for the day, folks. As I say, I'm going to go and see if I can splice the two bits of this bloody video together. So, you know, because it's a shame having to watch it in two bits. But if I can't splice it, I'll just tag them as part 1 and part 2, okay? Right, that's what I've got for you today, folks. I hope you found it entertaining and I hope you found it informative. That's Davy back on form. As I say, I'll be broadcasting from the house most of the times in the future. So, you'll get me sat here looking comfy during the day while I'm reading this stuff to you. I'm still keeping the hashtag because I'm still a qualified truck driver. Apart from that, it's how you guys get notifications that I'm on. Okay, so the usual stuff, support the independent media. And if we've got crowdfunders gone, and you've got a cheque out spare, throw it in. When it comes to the question of Scottish independence, as things ramp up, partisan politics in your pockets, eyes on the prize, learn your how you gonies, and get out there and win hearts and minds. Health messaging. Remember, folks, it's only guidance, but wear your face coverings in public spaces, enclosed public spaces. Clean hands and surfaces regularly. Comes to social distancing, use your napper. And if you're still testing, send your test results in. Okay, now use a lot look after yourself, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Have a nice day.